If there's one thing you don't expect to see appear in a room right there in front of you, it's definitely the northern or southern lights. And yet, it's possible thanks to strange and curious machines that we're going to discover today. At the beginning of the 20th century, Christian Birkeland, a Norwegian physicist with the look of a mad professor calculus, invented the Terrelar, a machine capable of reproducing miniature auroras in a kind of huge upside-down 500-liter aquarium. Inside this chamber, he creates a partial vacuum to reach pressures similar to those in the upper atmosphere. He also places a metallic sphere with a magnetic field like our planet, and then subjects the whole setup to very high voltages. And after years of relentless research in electrically charged and sometimes questionable safety conditions, Birkeland, thanks to his invention, demonstrates that the origin of auroras lies in the particles ejected by our sun. Arno, it's your turn.
I'm not going to go into detail on the subject, but basically, when we observe auroras, the one painting in the upper atmosphere is our sun, or more precisely, its bursts of anger that reach us in the form of solar winds. During periods of intense activity, our star plays host to what we call solar storms, and expels electrically charged particles into space, which are carried by this solar wind. When these particles enter our planet's magnetosphere, they are channeled and accelerated by the lines of Earth's magnetic field and eventually rush in at the magnetic poles. There, at altitudes between 80 and 1000 kilometers, they collide with atoms in the upper atmosphere, exciting or ionizing them, thus creating these magical veils of light.
Surprisingly, since our planet's magnetic field dips down like a funnel, there are never auroras directly above the magnetic poles, but only around their edges where people live.
Some saw the spirits of the dead dancing in the sky. Others saw souls playing ball with walrus skulls. Or even the breath of warriors who died in battle, telling each other about their feats on the battlefield. Because when a man or a woman witnesses an extraordinary phenomenon, eventually they create legends about it.
Other dreamers and researchers sometimes try to recreate them. That's the case with Jean Lillenstein, who nearly a century after the invention of the Terrelar, in turn invents an incredible machine that I had the chance to discover, the Planéterrelar. And it's time to turn off the lights to recreate and enjoy in miniature the magical worlds that usually only appear in the great silence of the sleeping night. Here, inside the bell jar, the conditions for the formation of auroras are recreated. On the other side of the glass, there is an electric nozzle and two spheres connected to a giant generator producing a huge amount of direct current. Surrounded by darkness, the glass reflections and harsh light make it hard to capture the variety and subtlety of the colors. The video equipment shows its limitations here, and a lot of my shots flicker like crazy. One of the spheres emits electricity and behaves somewhat like our star, spitting out the solar wind, and the other receives it and behaves somewhat like our planet. The electric field inside excites the trapped air and strips electrons from the oxygen and nitrogen that make it up, and there you have bare atoms. The electrons are free and the gas is said to be ionized. Under the influence of the magnetic field, like in a game of magical elements, charged particles cluster and spin around one sphere or the other based on their charge. Circles of polar auroras then form at the poles, where the concentration of electrons is the highest. And when, as they meet, electrons and ionized atoms come together again, a large part of the energy is then released in the form of a splendid iridescent light that shimmers in a pronounced blur. To set the mood, let's turn off the music to appreciate the sound produced by the machine. Here, the shades I was able to observe are different from those of the auroras we usually see in photos. Because the gas inside Planéterrelar is simply ambient air, though highly rarefied. In fact, the colors of the auroras depend on the characteristics of the air, the proportions of oxygen, nitrogen, or hydrogen, which vary greatly with altitude. And since these phenomena can unfold in the sky between 80 and 1000 kilometers in altitude, then, depending on where you are, the colors of the curtains can range from green to pink to red, including indigo or purple at the lowest altitudes. In fact, you can see auroras on any planet that has a magnetic field, as shown in these images of Saturn captured in ultraviolet by the Hubble Space Telescope. By the way, by reproducing the characteristics of the Martian atmosphere, by putting CO2 instead of ambient air under the bell jar, we were able to create blue auroras with this machine 10 years before they were observed for the first time on the red planet. Maybe that's the most fascinating thing about the Planéterrelar. It's that it allows us, by changing the gas pressure and the electric current, to observe a number of cosmic phenomena on a small scale, grandeur within reach. Because today, thanks to the work of its creator, who refused to patent it, there are 32 Planéterrelars in the world, and many are open to the public. In short, unless you live near the poles, you can see auroras by visiting a lab or just waiting. They'll usually come to you. Although auroras mainly occur in regions close to the magnetic poles, during intense solar activity, the auroral arc can move down toward the equator. In 1859, a polar aurora even reached as far as Honolulu. In 1909, it reached Singapore. And more recently, in 2003, people were able to enjoy one in southern Europe. In short, these serpents never stop amazing us.
And to keep being amazed, I suggest we take a fascinating and dizzying dive into the world of legends that these colorful draperies have helped to create.
And an exploration of the sun's upheavals and the phenomena hidden behind these colorful curtains.
And with that, the curtain falls. A huge thank you to everyone who fuels the machine and, behind the scenes, supports this channel on Typee or Utip. For more trivial matters, find us on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram.